and they also kind of help us.
Is on.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry, that was me.
No worries. And they also allow us to plan expeditions and also theorize like where leads may go. And without cave maps, we're kind of lost. And traditionally, we go surveying, generate a line plot, and sometimes people generate working maps. Some people are faster than others. A lot of times working maps or final maps are a really slow process. And we use them to figure out where the leads are to go surveying again and do the whole process again. But the problem with line plots is they kind of suck. They're great at showing like the three-dimensional nature of a cave. And even left, right, up, down tube models are kind of in the same category. But a line plot, more or less, it doesn't really show you the context of what the passage is doing. So, for example, here at like J9 in this complicated cave, you're not sure if that's there's a pit there, a pit lead, or maybe it's a borehole continuation or a sump that you need to go dive, or maybe it's a crawlway or a big breakdown pile. You don't really know without that working map tied to it. So what Caveware does is it allows you to take your sketch and connect it with your line plot. And it does this in 3 dimensions. And it does it in real time, so you can spin it around and look at it. And so you get a lot more detail. And in this example, you can see, there's floor steps and breakdown, and there's not a sump or a crawlway there. That's for sure. And it's kind of a big room. So you can get a lot more context when you can actually generate these working maps. And Caveware does this really, really fast. Fast enough that I've actually generated working maps on the expeditions after we got back from a hard day of caving. So we can figure out, okay, we should go to this part of the cave next tomorrow. So that's the whole idea and goal behind Caveware. And so you can take these high resolution working maps and export them at any resolution, and you can use that to sketch your final map, say in Illustrator or Inkscape. So you're probably asking yourself, what does it take to make a model, a Caveware model, that is. So we'll switch this over here. This is Caveware. Hopefully the text isn't too small. I might be able. Is the text okay to see for everyone, or do you need it bigger?
I still see the. Oh, now I see something big.
Okay. It seems like there's a slight delay, so this will probably be a little herky-jerky. So I apologize for that. Just from the nature of screen sharing and internet connections. But this is an example of a Caveware model. So we have Caveware is kind of set up into 2 different modes. You have the view and the data. And in the view mode, you can sit here and you can rotate your cave and look at it. And here I have several. I'm getting some feedback. I'm not sure if anyone else can hear that. You can have several pieces of notes scrapped onto the line plot and in plan or in profile. And so to add these, to add a sketch on here, if you go into the data, this is actually the fake Cave 3000 model that you can download off of the Caveware webpage. You can click on that, and then in trips, you can add multiple trips in here. And then you have this nice big scan of your survey notes. So what we really want is this top bit here is not registered yet. And that's, we do that by clicking on carpet. So you're creating a carpet, and basically carpet is a polygon with stations in it. So to do this really quickly, I can just click on scrap, which is more or less the polygon, and you just click the outside points of this whole thing. And this is in a plan. So once we've clicked them all, then we go into station, and I've already entered all the survey data. So you can see all the survey data that's here. And this is actually really useful to enter survey data like this. If you scan your notes and put them in here, they're right in the screen directly. So you don't have to look down at a book or whatever. And then you just sit here and click the station. So this is A1. So we'll put A1 in there, and then we can do A2. And usually it's nice to zoom in on this and make sure that your survey names are correct. Cavewhere will, if you've drawn your sketch to scale, Caveware will try to guess the best place for your survey station. So if we do 6 and 5 here, and it also kind of gives you lines, anchor lines on where the survey lines are. So once you have that all clicked, Caveware will automatically update the model. So if we go back to our model, we can see, oh, we've added our new scrap in this. So this is a just a profile or a plan. You can also do profiles. So for example, we have some nicely drawn profiles in here. We want to put this profile in here from A6 to A9. There's 2 different ways of doing profiles. There's a running profile, and then there's also a projected profile. So in a running profile, you can kind of see how the profile snakes along with the survey. That's really useful for horizontal passages. Generally, there's no kind of projection. You're not looking at a particular plane and drawing it. Versus a projected profile, you actually are looking at a plane. So for example, if we're just looking straight in profile and looking north, this would be, we're looking at north, more or less. So if the sketch decide, oh, I'm going to draw this vertical profile in the north direction, we can sit here and add another scrap in here and add some stations. We'll add we'll add A6 again and drag that guy up here, and then we'll also add A9. But this is in plan mode, so if we look into the view, you get this crazy wacky distortion because it's essentially trying to warp it in plan. That's not what you want. Yeah, so just even though it kind of looks right, it's most definitely not right. So if we're in here, we can go to projected profile, and right now we're saying, oh, we're looking at north at 0. And now this is, if we go turn this to north and profile, now we have our plan. And it more or less lines up with the, this profile more or less lines up with the plan. But say we don't really want north, say we want like, I don't know, 45 degrees. That's, what is that? Northeast. So if we put northeast in there, now it's going to rotate to a northeast direction. So now if we look at north, you can kind of see that that's at an angle. So that's more or less how you can add different scraps into here. And another thing that Caveware can do is it can manage leads. So for example, in our plan that we just added, you can see, oh, there's a high lead, it needs aid, and there's a 10-meter pit right here. And I guess there's some breakdown, but they didn't mark that as lead. So in your scrap here, you can just click the lead button and you can say like what the height and width is. And this is just a text description. There's a bunch of placeholders here that you could use. Like it has error, where you can say Joe climbed this in the 60s. You know, Joe totally climbed everything in the 60s. And you can add another lead for this pit, a 10-meter pit. And then you'll see these leads be generated in the actual three-dimensional model. And you can click on them. If you have a big cave system, you can click on them and go directly to the notes and see what the sketch said on the notes. You can also go into the data and see the whole lead list for the cave. So say if you have a camp near A5, it can show you the distance. This is just bird, just linear distance, not traverse distance. So of course, mileage will vary there, but you can kind of see what leads are kind of nearest to that station, which is really helpful. And you can oh, this 10-meter pit looks good. Let's go to that. And it'll sit there and zoom in on that particular lead. So does anyone have any questions now that I have this is more or less actually, before, we can do questions. I have another feature I can show you all.
You said you were able to produce a working map while on expedition. So are you just taking pictures of the written notes and then?
Yeah. So we just take pictures of the with the cell phone and just put it on a laptop and then sit here, enter the data, and then click the boundary on it. So expeditions that have power and laptops. We don't do this when we're in the Bob.
Okay.
So we've done this in China, for example, and also in Montenegro because we have a generator.
And then it seems like you moved the station to match the drawing, even though the station was probably the right angle. So would you correct that? You're just going to correct that in Illustrator later?
Right. So that's actually a great example. So what you're talking about, we'll just go to that page of notes. So I think what you're saying here is when I clicked on this, the station from the data should be here, correct? Yeah. And so essentially what this is showing you is that the sketch screwed up. They didn't sketch the cave very well. And so it's a little bit off. And a lot of times at this point, you're like, oh, I need to actually warp the piece of paper to match the survey notes. And that's essentially what Caveware has done. So if you can see here, you can look at these boxes and you're like, oh, okay, this sketch is all good until you get over here. And then there's a little bit of waviness. And so you've essentially adjusted the cave just slightly to match the survey data. And it does that in 3 dimensions. So you can see here, we've gone uphill a little bit. And so it's warped it in that 3-dimensional plane as well in the elevation.
Okay.
And is the scale affected with photos? So if you're taking photos of your sketch, if you're kind of...
Oh, yeah. So, you can definitely get some weird, wacky warping. And, it's the whole term of garbage in, garbage out. Of course, if you have a flat scanner, that's the best. But it seems like it produces reasonable results with taking photos of it. You just want to make sure that the angle is proper. And more or less, Caveware, it auto-calculates these things right here on the scale. It guesses based off of the data that you provide it. But you can say, oh, I don't want to auto-calculate it. I want to use, this is the up or the north on the piece of paper. And I can actually look at the scale. Here I've written 1 to 500. I don't think the scale bar is correct. I don't know why I was doing this, but I essentially drew this. This is actually quarter-inch paper. So it's kind of wonky between standard versus metric. Yeah. But one thing you can do is you can see what the resolution of the image is by clicking the resolution button up here. And you can just say, oh, it's, you can put it, whatever unit you're using here. I know it's 1 inch. And then that'll tell me, okay, this is a 346 pixel per inch photo, more or less. And then you can actually sit here and scale this thing. So I know that it's not actually 17.5 meters. I played around with this earlier today. It is not quite right because 1 to 500 is what it's actually drawn to. But essentially, you can put 1 to 500 in here, and it'll rewarp it to that. So what happens if you use a wrong scale? You get drastically worse results. So if we do like 100, like 1 to 100, what will happen is essentially your sketch has like made all the lines 5 times longer than they should. So Cavewhere will try to basically shrink and stretch everything. Like you can really see it here. It's shrunken all the data. And so if you get weird warping errors, it's mostly because you've started off with the wrong kind of either north up or wrong initial scale. Like this is kind of your model that you're like, okay, I'm more or less going to be at 1 to 500, and this is north up, and then it kind of corrects small errors that the sketch may make.
Hey, Philip, Christian here. Just a question. Yeah. You're demonstrating essentially taking photos of paper sketch. Can it import, say, TopoDroid or SVG files to use as a sketch?
Yes, you can import an SVG. So if I go back, So if I go, if I add a, that is actually a bug. Let's see here. So if we load an image, I think I have, let's see if I have an SVG sitting out here. SVG, it can load most file formats into this. I would like to, so here's an SVG, should load it, hopefully, maybe. Yeah, so this is a very poor example of an SVG because this has a bunch of transparency, but that is an SVG. But I would like, I don't know how many of you all use TopoDroid, for example, but that is on my list to do to add TopoDroid imports or Therion importing. What do you use?
Yeah, I think a lot of folks are using TopoDroid or we're just sketching on paper as well. Okay, yeah. So that I personally haven't switched to TopoDroid mostly because I feel like I can't get the same fidelity. Like for example, this is just a fake cave that I made up. Like I feel like I can't get the same fidelity on TopoDroid that I can on a piece of paper. But that just may be a personal thing, and maybe I haven't spent enough time on it. So, but would it import the survey data, or would you have to retype all of that?
You'd have to retype all of that, and that is a deficiency that I think if I corrected, it would, a lot of people would actually use it more.
Yeah. At least to get the stats, like the station data in.
For sure.
I think the workaround for the SVG, like on TopoDroid, if you're on Expedition, I suppose, could be take a photo of your TopoDroid screen and you could import it and then stitch together. That way you could stitch together multiple people's TopoDroid sketches.
Right.
Which is like the disadvantage of TopoDroid is it's not really a project manager, right? You have individual survey files.
Right. Yeah, that's that would be. It seems
that sounds way too clunky for in the field.
Yeah, like you really want. I mean, I see the problem that you're presenting, and I think that's a good area to work on because ideally digital survey is the future, obviously. So that's something I really want to support, but there's only like so many hours in the day, if that makes sense.
But like the advantage is if you've got a cave that you're sort of working on as a project, in between trips, you can generate fairly quickly a working map based with all your sketch data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. I need to look into TopoDroid a bit more on what can be exported from it.
And then with that leads list feature, so being able to click on the blue the blue question mark I can only do when I'm on the laptop. So I would, before I go on a caving trip, I would have a leads list kind of exported for my day.
Yeah, that would probably be the idea. That is a good something that I probably should add to that is the actual export and where these leads are. But you could you can actually export a particular area. This is actually a development version, so I would show you the export feature on this, and I can actually probably show you that really quick. I have a version that's not in development here. So let's just open something. We'll open a big cave here. Hopefully this loads. All right. So here's a cave in China. So say if we were going out to this sump area, you can essentially go in here and select an area that you want to export and say done, and then it puts it in here, and you can change whatever angle you want. So if you wanted a profile of this area looking north, north is kind of bad. Let's try something east maybe, and select this profile. I'm doing this very quickly. It'll actually like line up the profile and the plan together. And this is actually one feature that I want to move to more of like a mapping tab where you get first class like mapping. But anyway, I'm just showing you how more or less it works. And so you can change like your paper size and the DPI, and then you can export that thing. So, and then it'll sit here and generate the map, and then here's your more or less your working map. And you can see it's pretty high resolution, but you can do this for the whole entire cave, but you can select particular areas or anything that you're interested in.
Another question, the example you have there was showing the line plot there in red. If you had LRUD data or splay data, would it display those shots as well? I
have LRUD data that you can enter, but currently I don't use it for anything. And the splay shots, that's also something that I'm working on as well. So I know with DistoX, lots of people use tons of splays to kind of define the outline. And I think that data is useful, especially for potentially generating models or verifying that your sketch is correct.
And then, so I'm guessing it'll compute the length and depth of the cave. Is there any other statistics that it will generate?
Yeah, so it does length and depth. Other statistics, no, but you can export the data to Compass, and that I know that has lots of statistics stuff in it. One thing you can do, if we actually open that other cave in this version, we will discard this. This is a feature that I've been working on, but it's not completely done yet. So we have this very large cave. I have a layers tab, and you can more or less turn off. Oh, maybe that's going to crash. Yeah, I just crashed it. See, working feature. We'll reload it. Software always crashes when you demo it. That's like the golden thing here. And this is why this is not released yet. So anyways, back to the layers. So from a statistics standpoint, you can, here we can show and hide different cavers that did different things on the trip. So you can show and hide these things. No, that's just, so you can, this is anyone that's on that particular trip. So if they were on that particular trip, but I plan on there is a jobs or roles. So we can do like those bastards. So actually, this one doesn't have it, but you can add team members in here. So I know like I was on my name, and you can put like sketch. And so this is essentially metadata that the layers tab works off of. So you can say, okay, I want to look at the 5 sketches that, again, this is quite buggy, but you can look at this trip that I just put in, and you can say, oh, okay, I just want Philip, and I just want like the type. And so like, for example, here we have a plan and a running profile. So you can like drill down on a particular types of data in there. This is going to be expanded, and it's going to be a lot more user-friendly. You saw that there's quite clunky and confusing. And this is something that I'm actively working on right now, is how can you drill your data down so you can look at like, oh, okay, this part of the cave was discovered in this year. This part of the cave was drawn by this person. This is the date it was drawn on, or I want to turn on the line plot or the profile or plan. So that's an active feature that I'm really working on right now.
And
so
is
if there's
possible to enter data if I did have it digitally, like if I had an Excel that I...
Oh yeah, so you can, I believe, yeah, so you should be able to, yeah, you can import a CSV file. And I don't have any example CSV files here, but this actually is a fairly decent feature. But if you can export things into like a trip into a CSV file, you can load data from a CSV file.
Would the columns just look like a compass file?
More or less. You can specify what columns are where. Okay. I wish I had. I don't know. I don't know where a cave data CSV file is on my computer, and I'm not going to bore you by looking for one. But there's actually I think there's actually a good article on my webpage about the CSV importer. All right, so I think that kind of concludes the demo section. Just to like overview, there's a survey entry tool. You can morph sketches in 3D. You can create quick working maps. There's a lead list. And then you can also export and import from multiple file formats. And then lots of people are using it. These are mostly projects that I've worked on. We more or less use this software. And I'm fairly responsive on if you want to try using it and you run into problems, I can usually help you out. And another great thing is it's super fast to learn. I've really dedicated a lot of time to make it more user-friendly, mostly just because I like to have user-friendly software. It runs on multiple operating systems, Mac, Windows, Linux. You're going to have to build from source, but you're on Linux, so you should know how to do that already. Wookie is actually working on trying to get Caveware into the Debian package, but we're very slow at making that work. And so like features in the future that I'm currently actively working on is a new 3D engine. That's why the export wasn't working, because this new 3D engine, I need to port the export to work correctly with the keyword filtering, which is what I kind of demoed, and that's a work in progress. I also have a prototype of 3D terrain modeling. So right now you can put in a location of the cave. It'll automatically download where the cave is located. It'll download the aerials. I'll probably hook it up to allowing you to put in a terrain model. So either from LiDAR or just a regular DEM. And then I'd really like to get more GIS support into this. If any of you all are using QGIS, it uses the exact same technology as Caveware. So it's really easy for me to write a plugin for QGIS to load more or less Caveware data into QGIS in theory. And that would be really great if you want to integrate it with an actual GIS program. Of course, we mentioned splash shots. And then my grand idea is actually make it into a drawing program to produce like beautiful cave maps. I don't particularly like drawing cave maps in Illustrator or Inkscape, but I do it anyways. So you can, if you like Caveware and you want to give me money, you can become a patron. I only charge people when I release software, so it's not like a monthly fee or anything. And it more or less helps me pay for like webpage and you buying me a beer more or less. And then you can download the latest version off of caveware.com. So that's pretty much it. If you all have any more questions, yeah.
Yeah, thanks very much. No, it looks like a good tool, especially if people are looking for something fairly user-friendly. And the big selling feature, I think, is to be able to generate the working maps, because that's, I think, one of the weaknesses that sometimes we have, is that we have line plots and nobody's sort of drawing up the map. So at least if you had a working map that was easy to generate, that would be an advantage.
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't realize that TopoDroid didn't actually have like project management. That's kind of a large hole. I know, Katie, you probably use that in Cheve, right?
Yeah, we had so in Cheve we were using it. We were exchanging the files between tablets, between camps. Like so there might have been like 2 or 3 tablets at each camp, and then we were exchanging files, and that worked okay. But if you were to exchange files but you were missing like an orphan segment in the middle, then it doesn't know what to do with that data, which is fair. So of course it's not going to know what to do with it. And then there's a cool feature there's Cave 3D is like a side software or side app to TopoDroid, which was really, really helpful finding Cave. But you had to tell what was like, if you have 2 pieces of Cave segment, 2 different days of data, you have to tell that the ending day of this day was the beginning of the other day, and you have to put it together on Cave 3D. And when you exchange files between different tablets, that information doesn't go. So you have to kind of piece together all of the pieces.
Yeah.
So we made it work, but it wasn't perfect. It's really cumbersome to put a whole project into TopoDroid, and I've talked to the developer of TopoDroid, and he that's not how he intended to use it. But at Cheve, we had 60 kilometers of cave in there.
Yeah. You all had a really good year there.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think we really like TopoDroid, but then now exporting the files over to Illustrator, it's not taking all of the data, and so we're kind of losing detail in the export. So that's unfortunate, and just kind of something that you're like, I don't know what's the ideal thing right now.
Yeah, data loss is highly frustrating.
Yeah.
Thanks, Philip. Appreciate it. It's not like Microsoft is out making cave surveying programs, so it's really dependent on people like you to who are cavers, who can know how to code and make things that all these programs are out there. So thanks a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's I ended up I started caving in college, and the tools that were out there, I didn't particularly like them. And so I was like, I can do better. And so that was the inspiration that I had. And maybe it's not better, but, like I enjoy using it. And, like your feedback really is helpful for me to steer, direction of development. Because at the end of the day, it is a tool for me, but if I can give back to the community as a whole and make the software landscape a little bit better, that's just the way to do it. So,
so if I have two caves nearby, and if I put the GPS location into the one cave, can we look at both together and see their relation?
Yeah, so that's the current version that's on the webpage does not support that, but that is supported in a development version that I have. So that's in the pipeline. They come down the pipe where you have multiple caves. It does support the data structures there to support multiple caves, but the current version that's on the webpage, you can put multiple caves in there, but they all will start at the first station and come off. So it's not particularly useful.
And Philip, is there any move to get it to mobile devices, Android or anything like that, or is that a big leap?
So the technology, from the technology side, it's I guess it's not necessarily a big leap because the technology is completely portable. I've written lots of a code for both iOS and Android for another project that I could do a whole other talk on for caving. That project called Mapware, which is more of a surface location device that allows you to synchronize surface data between phones in the field without internet, which is it's really awesome when you're in the Bob, for example, or out in Wyoming. And that's where we use it mostly. But more or less, yes, I use the same technology for Mapware that I do for Caveware, and I could port it to Mac OS or Android. The problem is it takes a lot of time to do those things, and like the layout for a computer versus a phone would be it's hard to do that. Like it takes a lot of development to get those layouts correct and actually make it useful. But one thing I could do or easily support is more or less just a viewer. So you say, I want to open this Caveware file and have it in the cave so I can zoom around and see in 3D. That is 100% doable and could easily be ported.
Okay, that's good. Well, if you need a hand, I'm pretty good at coding myself. I've got 60 followers on Instagram, and I can post reels now. So I'm going up in the world.
Nice.
Great work. It's impressive to see this sort of stuff happen because, it doesn't make any sense to me how you guys build this stuff. But yeah, I'm looking forward to using it.
Oh, thank you.
I'm definitely interested to see it, excited to see how this can be integrated with GIS and like put into that environment and all the cool tools you can use. I wish I knew QGIS better, but it's on the list of things to learn. So, but that's really
it's
cool.
Yeah, you either like learn Arc or you're like me and like, Esri is evil.
I've drank the Kool-Aid. I don't know. It's
yeah
company. But
yeah, their products have definitely improved since I learned how to use them.
Yeah, they're getting better. It seems like but QGIS is too. So.
Oh yeah, QGIS has definitely gotten a lot better. I know I can port the code to QGIS. I don't know how I can do that on Esri side because they're very ingrained on the Windows APIs and things.
Yeah.
But I could probably export to file formats that can be read in any GIS format. That makes sense.
Yeah, cool.
Is there any other questions? Oh, that doesn't mean we just lost Philip. Oh no, there he's there. Okay. Well, Philip, that was really interesting. So I will have to play around with it. We're working on resurveying a cave that is 6 kilometers, and we've only done 1.4 kilometers, but we've already got like over half a kilometer of like new cave.
Oh wow!
Of stuff that wasn't done before, and I'm definitely struggling with having the working map and having something available for people in the field. So this might be my answer.
Yeah, are you mostly doing hand drawn maps, or are you doing TopoDroid?
It's been a mix, which
Okay.
also makes things even messier from the data management side of things.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't want to discourage anyone from helping. So then we get that mix of paper and top.
Right. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I've definitely had the experience where someone's like, "I have TopoDroid, and I'm going to survey this cave." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then they like rappel down the shaft, and they are drawing the cave on their with their finger, and you're like, "Oh, great! I have finger painting of a cave. This is terrible. Like, there's no detail. You've just drawn like 2 lines next to a survey shot. Like,
but they're to scale."
Oh, awesome. But maybe that's just me. Like, I have slightly higher standards than finger painting, but I don't know.
Yeah, your map drawing there was a bit nicer than mine. Typically are.
I have seen people produce really good maps with TopoDroid, though. On the other hand, like Matt Covington has used it in Wyoming, and I was like, oh, this is actually, decent. So
yeah,
there's two ends of the scale.
Yeah, at Chevy we were using like I think it was a 7-inch screen, so that allows you to zoom in and draw enough true detail with the stylus. And
yeah, the stylus is like the critical factor. When someone pulls out their finger to draw, you're like, oh, this isn't going to be good.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, then I guess we'll let ourselves go. But yeah, thanks so much, Philip.
Yeah,
and hopefully we'll have to get out caving together. Yeah,
for sure. Nice to meet you all, and feel free to email me any other questions that you have, or if you want to go caving. I live in Vancouver. We could go caving.
Awesome. Okay. Well, good night.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.